This is my pre-season 3 tier list of all the characters, or at least most of them. Some characters I'm going to be leaving out, like the VIPs, because, obviously I hate them. And Gaeyong, Malsoon, the other Malsoon, and Naeon, the little baby, because those are characters I don't feel like you can really rank. Obviously, if you don't like them, there's something wrong with you. Disclaimer, if I'm ranking them and then you're like, this ranking is bullshit, just know that this is coming in 2 rounds. The first round is me talking about the characters. When I'm talking about them, then my opinion on them will be refreshed, and so after I finish the tier list, I'll do round 2, and that's when I fix all my listings. Alright, the explanation of the tiers are uppercase love, and how I would visualize that is I would get a physical item of them, photo, and then lowercase love them is if I would put them as my profile picture, If I like them, if you asked me to talk about them, I would have stuff to say. Meh, I wouldn't really have much to say about them. And then with dislike, I would have a little bit to say about them. With hate, I would roll my eyes when somebody brings them up, and then uppercase hate, if someone brings them up, I would start going on a rant. So those are the explanations of the tiers. Mind you, I made this with CapCut, a computer, and a dream, so it's not going to be top tier quality, but I feel like we can expect that. Alright, so first off is Monarch Ali Abdul, and I put him in lowercase love. And before I go in depth, I want to explain why I didn't put him in uppercase L. I'm a sucker for funny characters. For a character, for me to love them, they have to be funny. But this isn't me criticizing his character. I do not think that every character ever has to be funny. So that's not a criticism. And he does have his moments, but I wouldn't say that it's a defining characteristic of his. Alright, something that drives me up the wall, takes me for a walk with no fire hydrant, is when people call him stupid. I do not think that he is stupid. You could say the word gullible, but I don't think that fully has to do with him as a person, and let me explain. So, he is an immigrant, that's a huge part of his character. And in and outside of the game, we can see him being taken advantage of. In the workplace, he's being exploited for being an immigrant and poorer. This is shown with his missing fingers from having a work accident, but because he's not being paid, it's a snowball effect that he can't take legal action because he doesn't have the money for it, and he can't change his job, so being an immigrant makes him vulnerable. This is also evident in the games with how he's nice to everybody and easy to trust, because if he's not acting that way, then he'll be painted as some horrible Pakistani who came here to cause chaos. The one time that he retaliates is when he calls out Mineo for her bullshit, and immediately she snatches onto him with calling him an illegal alien and asks if he has a visa. He's also a very good teammate because he's grateful, strong. He was in the back of the rope. He picked up Gihan, which I'm going to keep on bringing that up because that is strong as fuck. And he's just awesome, so he's on my love. Alright, the second person I put in dislike, and it is Byung-gi, aka 111, aka the doctor. And I put him in dislike because I don't like him. You could argue that he was morally gray and he tried his best, but I just think he was annoying. This is where my feelings on characters get contradictory, because with other characters I'll excuse their behavior, be like, oh, but they have to because they're in a killing game. With him, you could argue that, but I just can't think of anything good about him. At most it's meh, and then he's a bit annoying, so I dislike him. And in my opinion, he spent his advantage wrong. I think that he went about it stupidly with mooching up to that group and then telling them that he had an advantage. He took it stupidly. And then the next person is Captain Park, and I put him in meh because I know that he definitely betrayed them, but I don't think that he's I don't hate him. I don't have any strong opinions. Maybe I should have put him in dislike. Maybe I'll change that. But in the beginning, he had his moments that I liked. I was like, oh, this guy is fun. I like him a little bit. And then the betrayal happened, and I was like, oh, but not in a disappointed in the show way. No, I was like, oh, okay, that kind of sucks. Alright, next up is Songwoo, and I put him in capital letter love because I love him. He's funny at times, he's complex, he's fun to think about. I don't think that he's an evil person. Of course, he's morally gray. He was in a death game and he acted like he was in a death game. Pushing that guy. Maybe it's from an evil part of his heart, but I don't believe that. I think he just believed in survival of the fittest. And then when he killed Sabyok, this might be mean, but she was probably gonna die anyways. But he still took the extra step to make sure that she did die, so maybe he just wanted the achievement, I don't know. And like I said, he was funny at times, the way that he was annoyed by everybody, and he was a bit of a phony macaroni with the way that he acted with Ali. So maybe putting him above Ali was kind of evil-sided, but, you know, he's a fictional character and I love him as an idea, and a bitch wanted to live. So, in My King, he stands on business, and of course in that business he did embezzlement and fraud, but a girl makes mistakes, okay, and we can move on. The next character is someone we don't see a lot, and it's Woo Si-ok, and I put him in like, because I like him. He's a comedic relief, and he does make me laugh, so I like him. He makes everything lighter, and I think that's the point of him being there, other than, you could say that he's a bad person because he's a loan shark, and with that, they show us the other side of the coin, you know? And he's not fully, there to be there, you know, he has some, like, that little backstory with Mr. Kim, so I like him. Next up is a character I hate with a capital H, and it's the Masked Guard. He has a bit of a backstory with Noel when he saw her at the hospital after she killed her superior officer, and he was like, wow, this girl's badass. So then he recruited her. Like, when they were talking, he said, I felt bad for you. So he felt like giving her a chance. But still an asshole. And then with the organ harvesting, he also said, they're gonna die anyway, so let's use their organs to save others. Which I kind of get that, you know, like a sacrifice for the greater good, you can say, but still hate him, and he's embarrassing. He's a wannabe. Not really, but I like saying that because it's funny. He's another case of my opinions being kind of contradictory with how I hate him for being a part of the games, but my opinion. So this next one might be a bit controversial. With a lowercase l, I love Mineo. I love her. Do I like her? No, but I do love her. She's funny. She's like hypocritical. She's always changing. Kind of, you know, she's a bitch, and I love that. She doesn't really have a plan, and everybody hates her. She's annoying. I love her. Yet again, I'm probably doing Ali dirty by putting her right next to him. My profile picture on Netflix is still her. You know, the profile picture that you can't get, that's from like half a decade ago, so not to brag, but I'm pretty special. And this is how you know that I'm on that squinch grind. I've been on this since it came out via Netflix profile picture. Okay, next is Inho, and I put him in lowercase love. Now, I didn't put him in uppercase love because I just didn't really feel that, like, attached to him, which maybe, that's just, like, a me thing. But I do think that he's, like, a gold star character. He's complex, he's funny at times, like, the point where he's, like, socially awkward or he crashes out. That was funny. And in my opinion, with the crash out, of course, he uses his opposite hand, but the actor said that he had to do that because every time he used his dominant hand, he would do it perfectly. And I think that him messing up like that, I think that was genuine, or at least it makes it funnier that way. A critique of his that I see is people saying that the fandom is hypocritical for liking him but then hating the VIPs, because in the first season where he confronts the doctor and the masked officers for organ harvesting, he says, I don't care what you do with the bodies as long as it doesn't affect the game, because, you know, the doctor was getting advantages because of it, so it was kind of cheating. However, in the second season, when the masked officer meets Noel, he says, are you scared that the captain will find out? So in there, it's kind of like implied that he doesn't like it. So if he finds out, you'll get in trouble. So other than the gay awakening, he must have had an awakening between the first and second season, because I guess he doesn't like it anymore. And he's also very complex and mysterious with his whole family relationship, his dead wife, winning the games, all that. So we'll see more about him in season 3, and that's also a reason why I put him in that lowercase love. So if he becomes like a really big asshole in season 3, it won't have aged that bad. He's also not a perfect person because, you know, he's in charge of the games, so there's that. But of course I'm not going to let that like stop me from liking a character. You know, of course I don't have to like them as a person, but I can like the character. Of course he's flawed, but I really think that he is a perfect character. I can't really, well, like the majority of Squid Game characters, I think that he's perfect. The next character is Junho, and I put him next to his brother in lowercase love. I don't uppercase love him because this could just be me being stupid and blind, but we don't really see his personality much, but I still love him. He is very determined and perseverant, and he's badass. And also, in the second season, we see a glimpse of his, like, true personality when he speaks to his old superior, and he's a bit cheeky, you know, he's a bit silly. So there's that. He's also got a very developed backstory. He's also very caring. He's a very caring person, we can tell. So yeah, I love him. Now in hindsight, I think that I should have put him in uppercase love, but I'll do it later. Alright, next is Hyunju, and it's kind of given to put her in love. So she's like caring, you know, she's like representation. She's like a huge statement by just being there. Eventually, like at first she's a little, she's always nice, but eventually she's like, she has like an awakening. She's like, oh, this game is bad. So there's that. You know, it took her friend dying to realize that. Well, not realize it, but be more passionate about it. That, but I'm not gonna blame her for, you know, going on with the game, because a bitch gotta do what a bitch gotta do. She has charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, so I love her. Now, in hindsight, I think I should have put her in lowercase love. But it's not because I don't love her. Of course I love her. That's why I'll put her in the love tier. It's just that, I don't know, I don't feel as much of a connection with her, which is just a me thing. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with her. So, yeah. She has a well-developed backstory and explanation for why she's in the game. She's a very good character, and the way that she, like, is actually important is awesome. She does the queer community a great service. So, I love her. Alright, next is Player 100, aka Jungdae, aka the character that everybody hates, and I am a follower, aka I'm normal. So I put him in uppercase hate. Now, of course, he's like an ass. That's my Tamagotchi. Of course, he's like an asshole. So there's that. But he was made to be hate, and of course, they did wonderful with that. Like I said, he is a perfect character. He is a gold star character. He has a purpose. He fulfills it. He shows the ugliness of the games, the rawness, you can say. And so, you know, I hate him. As I should. Alright, we go one number up. It's Gyoksu, and as you can see, I put him in uppercase hate. Now, he has fans, and I just don't know how. I mean, I disagree. I just can't find anything good about him. There's, you know, I like the actor a lot, you know, but Snake Tattoo guy, I don't know. I can't find one good thing about him. You know, of course he's a gold star character. Don't think that I'm saying that he's a bad character. He's a great character. Does that mean I like him? No. And that's fine. That's fine. That's probably what Mr. Awesome Face intended. So, gold star character, I hate him. Alright, next is Gwimjeon. I put her in uppercase love because I love her. I think that season 2 is a lot more about the players, how they get into their situation and how they deal with it. You know, like Hyunju, the Dalmatian Squad, Junhee, like, it's more in depth this season. She's very caring, perseverant, and she's very emotional, and which is a good thing. She has great character development, and she stands on business, and she shows motherly love, how she loves her son so much, and I'm scared for season 3. You can either interpret her as someone who thinks that humans are inherently good, and like Yihun, or that she believes that people are inherently bad, but she wants to protect her son and she thinks that they could be better, and she's very hopeful, which both ways I like. She shows family bonds, and I feel like having 2 family members was like given in the season 2, and they fulfilled that, which, as if my opinion matters. Whatever, it's my opinion. And I love her so much. I love her, I love her, I love her. Let's move on before I start crying. Alright, don't come for my throat for this next one, but with Jiyoung, I put her in like. Now, everybody loves her, and of course I love her, but if I have to do it in a tier list, I would put her in like. I like her not as much as the other characters. She's also a very gold star character. She has a well-developed backstory, like, very good. The way that she dies means, like, a lot. Like, that was, like, a very defining point of the series, very iconic. I'm realizing that my tier list is probably not popular because I'm putting Minyo above her. My reasons for as why I don't like her as much as the other characters are not any critiques. It's really just because we don't have as much screen time about her. She was only in like an episode and a half. Same with, that's it with like most characters. So I love her, don't get me wrong, but in the grand scheme of things, like I said, I'd put her in like. Her character confronts the whole, oh, we don't want to add women to our team because they're weaker. Like, that was literally how she was introduced. Maybe she is physically weaker, maybe, but I still feel like she would be a very good teammate because she would do her best. Of course, she doesn't care about other people as much as she does herself, which is absolutely okay. I 100% get that. Don't think that's me being critical of her. You know, a bitch gotta put herself first. I would put my life in her hands. Now, with this next character, it's Daiho, and you can see me very much second guess and ponder about my listing of him. I ended up putting him in lowercase love because he's a very lovable character, and you know that I love funny characters, and that part where Jungbei says that he doesn't deserve to eat, so then he asks if he could have his milk, that made me laugh. I would love to say that he's perseverant, and there's a plot hole for him that makes me really mad. How the fuck did he survive red light, green light? That pisses me off, but other than that, it's fine. I think that his character has a lot to do with masculinity and the expectations of it. This part is not full out said, but because he has 4 older sisters, I assume that his parents kept on having kids until they had a son, and so he has the expectations to live up for that. Evidence for that is he did say that he became a Marine for his dad, and then when it was with Gongi, he was embarrassed to say that he was good at it, and while being this Marine, which he's very proud to say the label of, which is rightfully so, he's caring, which is more like a feminine trait stereotypically, anxious, and nice. He finds comfort in Jungbei, calling him Brother Jungbei. He's an older man who's also a Marine, so he finds validation in that, which also by just liking him. One of his first lines is, I saw Mr. 456 yelling freeze and I became his big fan. So he finds Gi-hun yelling out like that inspirational. He's also very nice and caring to Junhee, which is lovely to see, and shows his true personality with how he wants the best for everybody. And letting a pregnant woman into his group shows that he finds everybody equal. So with his dad, the shooting incident, and becoming a Marine, I feel like it really does like define his character, and it makes him make sense, and it also shows the type of people that this game targets and the type of people that are usually in poverty and gets taken advantage of. So I think that his character really does reinforce the message of the show. I should have put him in uppercase L love, but it's just because I relate to him, because if you can't tell, I'm not the manliest man. Tier list is about how much I like them, so I should probably fix that at the end. Next up is Noel, and I put her in uppercase L love. In the beginning, where she has that job where she makes little kids happy, and then she leaves that for the games, and then when she has to leave, she burns the drawing of the little girl. It was a literal sense of burning the present and leaving the present to focus on the past and the future to really get what she wants, which is to get her daughter back. When she joined the games, it was under the impression that she was going to take people out of her misery, which is what the masked guard said, and then when she was shooting the people, she was like, well, gotta do what I gotta do. And then when she found out about the organ harvesting, that was like her breaking point. When the masked officer told her to ignore it, she just said, I do not wish to, and then she killed her entire unit, and then she saved 246. It showed that she was a badass. I think that her character is really made to show the other side of stuff, with being a guard, which is not the other side of the coin, but, you know, she's on the same boat as them, just on the other side. She goes to the same, I forgot the name of the job, but she goes to the same guy that Gi-hun goes to for Saebyok. And she's also from North Korea, so she's basically like not, it really shows that she's not the opposite of people, but she's the same, just with a different base. So you know that I love funny characters, and I wouldn't really say that funny is her like characteristic, but I think that she's very important, and with the point that they're trying to make, she brings it across. And not only does she bring it across, she serves it on a gold plate, and she gives you, and she cleans the silverware, she gives it to you, and you're like, wow. So she's very complex. So I love her. Next up is Saebyok, and I put her in uppercase love. And when I rewatch the show, my family always says, oh, she's like really mean. Like, she wasn't immediately inclined to join Gi-hun's group. She was a realist, and she knew that making allies and encouraging other people to live and being nice would make them live longer, when in the game you want to be the last person to live. So that was why she was nervous to make allies, or at least that's how I interpret it. She also knew that it was a great way for somebody to backstab her, she pickpocketed Gi-hun, so when he like showed her kindness, she was like very hesitant. When she gave Gi-hun water, she said, "You can pay me back later," showing how she was hesitant to do people a favor. In the end, they ended up becoming like best of friends. She was very perseverant, very determined. She had a brother and a family, so she was actually a very caring person. And then when her with Ji-young, she lost her girlfriend. It was horrible. She shows how having a tough upbringing or a tough life in general just like shapes you, but it still keeps you as a person. You're still there. You're still the person you'll ever be. When in the end she stopped Gi-hun from killing Songwoo, who ended up killing her, which she was gonna die anyways, but you know, she told him to stop, and I think that she does care for other people, and she cared about him ruining the person that he is, and she didn't want him to lose himself because she liked him, you know? And when she became disoriented from the blood loss and said, "Sir, I'd like to go home now," oh, that was a stab to the heart. I think that it's definitely the saddest death in Squid Game, in my humblest of opinions. So not only did she really fight the whole women are weaker thing, but she was also very smart. Like, I say one of the smartest people in Squid Game with her approach to it, going up in the vents and sneaking in a knife and all that. I think that she was really one of the smartest people in the game. Then we have Mr. Kim, and I put him in dislike because even though in the second season he's kind of like submissive to Gi-hun, he's definitely still an asshole. You don't know what he's doing on camera. He's not going to change his ways. I don't think that he's had an awakening from it. I'm too lazy to find screenshots of this, so have fun with me taking photos of my computer. But he says people who owe me money, like present tense, and then here Woo Seok says that Gi-hun was the only person who had ever like paid him back voluntarily, so he was like impressed. I think that it's interesting that Squid Game chose to humanize loan sharks when in the first season they talked really bad about them. So it proves my point that I think that season 2 is about the structure of poverty. It makes me not hate him. You know, I still like to see him on the screen, but do I like him? No, I wouldn't. I think I have more of a negative opinion about him, which is fine. It's fine. I don't think that he's a bad character. Next up, I put in lowercase love, and it was Junhee. I put her in the front of it because I love her. She's very perseverant, and seeing everybody else care for her is lovely. She also has like a very sad situation, of course being in the games, but then she has no family to help her. Myung-gi got her in debt and then broke up with him. And then, now this isn't necessarily bad, but you know, being pregnant is tough. And then with the guy who made her get in debt and abandoned her, she's in the game with that ex. In the game, he sees her and then he's surprised. So I guess that he forgot that he got her in debt. That is so bad. I see some people blame her for keeping the baby, which honestly, maybe I'm also blind with this, but I don't know why she kept it. I love how she stands her ground with how she's pissed at Myung-gi. I hope she stays with that in the third season. I'm not gonna lie, if she forgives him, I would not like her. Sorry. I think that if she forgives Myung-gi, I think that it would make her look weaker. She's very nice, but the reason why she's not in uppercase love is because we don't really know her personality that well, unless I'm very blind. But I love her backstory and her explanation for why she's here, and then I feel like her being more quiet is definitely a thing about her personality, but also because of the situation she's in. I do not agree that her only personality trait is being pregnant, because you can see her being perseverant throughout the game with how she'll be having stomach pains, but she tries to hide it. She's not afraid to speak her mind, especially with Myung-gi, how she's not uncomfortable with accepting help, and she allows herself to be vulnerable with people that she feels safe around. So you can see that. But I still say that I don't really know her personality that well, but it's also just because, you know, the situation that she's in, she feels like being secluded to be presentable. And she's very vulnerable in this situation. It's very important to the message of the show. I really hope the best for her. I don't know if it's gonna come though. So I love her. Next is Youngmi, and I put her in like, and honestly, that's surprising because usually characters who are on the verge of a breakdown are really annoying, but Squid Game is goated. They figured it out. I think that she's one of the most realistic characters, and how she's like super nice to Hyunju, like calling her beautiful. It's wonderful to see, girl. She's forced into a situation, and it's sad to see because I have to say that I'm saying perseverant for everybody, but it's just, I need to remember that it's because they don't really have a choice. I've seen a lot of people say that she adds like nothing to the season other than just like being there and being sad, and I do not agree with that. I think that she proves my season 2 point that it focuses a lot more on characters and the structure of what it's like being in the game and, you know, other people's reactions. I feel like constructing the game really with how she reacts to the situations within it and how she makes bonds in it. She reminds you that the players did not really know what they were signing up for when they joined the game. I also want to say that she's a gold star character, but I think I'm going to stop saying that because I think that everybody is a gold star character, so rest in peace to that MS Paint drawing. I like her a lot. Alright, next is Myungi, and you can see that I put him in lowercase hate, and you can see that I put no hesitation in doing that. Now, why I didn't put him in uppercase hate is because I don't think that he is the worst person ever, and he's also not super annoying. First off, he also was scammed. He wasn't a scammer. Scammer got scammed. He wasn't a scammer. And then also, I could see how he left Junhee because he thought that would be better for her, but it was still an asshole move. I can understand it, but it was a bad idea. I think that how he acts with Junhee in general is kind of asshole-ish. I mean, I understand that now he wants to like help her because he had some awakening, but brother, it's too late. Sorry, just worry about yourself now. But you know what? At least he has priorities. And after he finds out that Junhee's in the game, he starts voting X, but which I guess proves that he does care. I don't know. I just think that it was too late for him, you know. But it always makes me sad to say that somebody was too late because you can always change, and it's horrible to think that way. It's one of the worst feelings ever. Maybe I should have just put him in dislike. Maybe that was more accurate because I don't think that he's the worst character ever, and I don't think that he's evil-sided or whatever. Now that I said that I had no hesitation, that's a bit embarrassing, but I'm not going to delete it because I'm humble like that. Alright, the next one is Namgyu, and you can see me think about it, but I ended up putting him in like. Now, when I first watched it, I did like him. I did. I thought that he was funny. I hate him, but I like him. Like, I hate him as a person, but I like him as a character, which is I feel like that's most people in Squid Game, so it's fine. I just thought that he was like fun to be there. I liked seeing him on the screen because it was like, oh, he's on the screen, shit about to go down. At first I thought that he was like a wannabe, that he was like a suck-up, like that he was a dick rider, which honestly I loved him for that. The nomlings, the people who like him, they've convinced me that he just really likes Thanos. He needs Thanos to have power. Instead of Namgyu being like parasitic, they're both codependent on each other. Y'all convinced me, okay? And he's also misogynistic, so there's that. That knocks him down a couple points, which is kind of one of my things that are like hypocritical because, of course, in this sense, him having a bad trait makes me like him less. You know, I pick and I choose, basically. I think that when people interpret him as favoritism for Thanos being like an output of self-hatred and a need of power, in that he thinks that he's like cool for being spontaneous like that, and then how he hates everybody else is not to become more liked by Thanos, but just because he likes Thanos that much that everybody else, like when he's a bitch, is just genuine. And he does make me laugh. I like him for that. He does make me laugh, but I mean that in a laughing at him kind of way, where I watched the show with English subtitles and them speaking in Korean, but him in the English dub, he's so funny.
Fuck you, bitch.
Bingo, bingo, bingo!
I say mingle, mingle, mingle. It's not that funny. I've been up for 24 hours trying to edit this fucking video. Okay. Next up is Ilnam, and I put him in lowercase hate, which that's right next to Myungi, so that's whatever. I didn't put him in uppercase hate because sometimes he made me laugh, and then I fell for the plot twist like really hard he gives Squid Game like a really good rewatch factor, because you get to rewatch and you get to pick up on the little Easter eggs, and then you get to see his old ass scurrying, and you're like, oh, you're evil. And you know how he liked Gi-hun. Shows how Gi-hun is like lovable. I just like him a little bit. I don't fully hate him. Alright, this next one, I feel like it's given to say this first, but fuck his actor. And that also, his actor, he has nothing to do with my opinion on the character and why I put him in meh. So basically, oh, he's in there for his daughter? Okay. He's nice to Hyunju, alright. Noel likes him, you know, he has a little bit of a backstory with Noel. That's it. You know, he saved them that one time. I don't know why. I just did not feel a connection to him. I really think it's because I don't, like, nothing about his personality. Like, sure, he does good stuff, but at least for me, he's just, like, not lovable. Like, they show us fingernails with no fingers. That doesn't make sense, but to me it is. I really do believe that this is just me being stupid and blind. There's no way, because I know that people like him. He did good stuff, so I don't know why I just feel so meh about him, but I do. Alright, next up is Jungbae, and I put him in lowercase love. And the reason why I didn't put him in uppercase love is because, well, this is not a critique. I do not think that he's a bad character for this, but sometimes he made decisions that made me a bit mad. Which, obviously, it's like when he voted O, but it was also when Daiho was like, it was my dad's idea, he wanted me to be more of a man, and he was like, obviously, like, uncomfortable, and then Jungbae said, oh, he sounds like a great man. That made me mad, but you know what? He probably didn't mean anything by it, but, you know. But, like I said, this doesn't mean that he's a bad character or anything, which is totally a me thing. But he made me laugh a lot, and you know, I like funny characters. I think that maybe he was like one of the funniest characters. So there's that. He was caring most of the time, and fuck. I think that having him in the second season was definitely a choice, and it was a good choice. And seeing him, how he transitioned between the first season and the second season, and how he like cared about Gi-hun, how he was like, you look fucking horrible, and he was not quiet about that, and then also how his marriage with his wife was failing, how gambling like took over his life. I feel like it was definitely a good choice. Horrible. It was horrible. It was fucking horrible, but it was a good choice. The next character I put in like, and it was Minsu. Now, my theory as to why I don't love him is because he's more of a quieter character, and I wouldn't say that funny is a characteristic of his. Okay, now remember that when I say that I don't like a character as much because they're quieter, it's just that I like more outspoken characters because they're kind of like Cocomelon, they stimulate me. Or if they're very complex and they give you a lot to think about. It's not a critique or something that makes the character worse, it's just they make me like them more. I think that me liking Namgyu more than him is a bit evil-sided, so sorry. I do like his character, I do. And I think that while he is a bit of a coward, which is not an insult, you know, that's just a fact, I don't think that he was a backstabber, at least not someone who had wanted to be a backstabber. In Mingle, when he left Semi, he had just seen Thanos kill Gyeongsu kind of, and so he was just like scared about that, and then all the people running around. He was very overstimulated, so there were two people yelling at him, so he just did what they said. He tried to save Semi, he did. He was just really scared. And of course in those moments, and also voting O, I got like a bit mad, but it's like when a little kid spills milk, like you're mad, but you're not like actually mad at them because they don't really know better. So I feel bad for him because he's always like overstimulated, so sorry Minsu, and I like you. I put Yongsik next to Minsu in like because I like him. He's loud and funny and he's very animated. I know that a reason why I don't like him as much is because of when he voted O, which is very obvious, but when people vote O, I don't fully blame them. It's like a morally gray thing. But his mom was in the game, so there's that. I don't think that he abandoned her in Mingle. I really don't think that happened. When somebody says that, it kind of makes me mad. He definitely loves his mom though, like in the point where in Six Legs where he was trying to join a group and the guy said, ditch the old lady, and he was like, this old lady is my mom. So I love their relationship, even though sometimes he's a bit rough around the edges, but I still love him. For any other reasons why I don't think that I like him as much as the other characters, I can't really think about it. A good example of the love tier is Junhee. Like, she's definitely like the icon of that tier for me. I just don't like him as much as I do Junhee, and I don't really know why. So sorry, Youngsik fans. Now, as you can probably guess, I put Thanos in lowercase love because I love loud and funny characters. I didn't put him in uppercase love because number one, I didn't want to look like one of those stupid Nomling fans that have bad takes, and then number two, he did do stuff that made me mad sometimes, but you know, that doesn't mean he's a bad character or anything. It's like how Player 100 is made to make you mad, and so, you know, I don't like him, but that doesn't mean he's a bad character. The way I interpret I'm not feeding my Tamagotchi, I want it to die, like seriously. The way I interpret him is that he needs subordinates or like a lot of people around him, and if he's not popular and he doesn't know what to be. Like when he got into a lot of debt, went onto that bridge, you know, because he thinks that success is having influence. I think that him and Namgyu are really mad at Myunggi because they need someone to blame and take their anger out on. I feel like the best way to describe how I feel about him is that on the Dungeons and Dragons alignment chart, he's chaotic neutral because he's a bit of a killer, but then yet again, you know, he's in a death game where you're made to kill people, and I don't think that outside of the games he would kill people. He just has the opportunity and he took it. So yeah, he's always high all the time, which some people say that he's smart for that, so then he's not always panicking, and he's a bit stupid so I like that. With voting O, he has like nothing to lose, and like I said, I think that voting O is like morally gray because some people would do whatever to get money. I think the reason why he chose Gyeongsu to kick out is because Semi and Minsu, they're like a duo, so if he kicks out one of them, he'd lose them, and then Namgyu, he's like his number one follower. Like I said, the Nomlings, they convinced me that they're codependent on each other because like the way that I interpret Thanos is that he needs influence, and then Namgyu gives him a lot of that, and he gives him like a really big ego boost. In season 2, I've noticed that everybody has like jewelry, when in season 1 they didn't do that. That's curious, you know? I feel like the people behind the games let him have that because it would make it more interesting, but with the rest of the people having jewelry, I think maybe it was just the writers using it to show more personality in the characters. He's interesting, complex, and important, so I love him. Alright, with Semi, you can see me ponder this. This was 3.5 times speed, by the way. I was really thinking about it, and I ended up putting her in lowercase love, which honestly I regret. I should have put her in like. The reason why I did that was because I'd feel bad putting her below Thanos, but I think that I like Thanos more than her, which she's funny sometimes. She has charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, but we don't really know as much about her backstory, so that makes me not as connected to her, you know? Her approach to the games was smart with how she kind of used Thanos and Namgyu because she knew that they would do anything to live, and how she approached Minsu thinking that he would be very loyal. She made a plan to leave once the money reached a certain point. She's also very pretty, so I wanted to say that. Her death shows the inner conflicts of the people within the game, and also how Namgyu is an asshole, and it was unfortunate the way that she died. So she's very lovable, even though we don't know much about her. Alright, now it's Yeonneo, the shaman lady. I put her in lowercase love. I love my girl. Okay, I love my crazy girls. I love her. Do I like her? No, but I love her. Listen, maybe I should have put her in like because do I love her as much as I love Junhee? Actually, she's not mother. She's auntie. She's auntie. T. Like she's a diva. Is she crazy? Yes. Is she so annoying? Yes. And I love her. Alright, I love her. Let's just move on before I start getting violent. Alright, next up is the salesman, and you can see me very ponder about it a lot. I'm sketching it out, I'm planning it, and I still made the wrong choice. I should have put him in uppercase love. I love him a lot because he's like random and mysterious, and the symbolism, like he's very professional and he looks clean, but on the inside he's like gilded. He's gilded, and the inside he's ugly and he's evil. Moving on, okay? I don't want to... The video isn't about the meaning of Squid Game. I thought that he was funny. I liked seeing him on the screen. Really like mysterious characters. Usually when shows give mysterious characters like backstory, I'm not a fan of it. I liked this one. So, you know, my opinion is the opinion that matters, so that means that the Squid Game writers are goated because I liked it. Now here's the thing. Was he lying about his story? Was he lying? I mean, honestly, I don't think so, but I think that would be interesting to think about. He's a very interesting character to think about, and I like that. He's fun. One of the scenes in season 2 that made me laugh really hard is when Gi-hun said that he didn't care about his backstory, and then you just started telling him it anyways. That made me laugh really hard. So yeah, he's a very good character, and I would put him in uppercase love when I fix this. Alright, next is Mercenary Kim, and I put him in meh, not because there's anything bad about him, It's just because I really don't know anything about him. And I know that people like him because he's like badass, and I guess that's cool, but it's not enough to make me like him. But there's nothing wrong with him. Yet again, it's not a character critique. I just didn't really form an opinion on him, which is fine. Alright, next up is Gyeongsu, and I put him in like because I do like him, even though we don't really know him that well, because he's one of those characters that lasted an episode and a half, kind of. But from what we know, I interpret him as he saw a rapper that he likes, and so he was like, oh, I'll stay with him. And then he got scared, and so he was like clinging onto the only thing that he likes just for it to backstab him in the end. From the way that you could see his like expressions reacting to stuff that Thanos and Namgyu would do, you could see that he was like, okay, these people are kind of assholes, but if he lost them, he would have nothing and get on their bad side. So I don't think that he's there just to be there. I don't think that he's an empty character, and I like him. Alright, the next one is 453 from season 1, and I put her in like because I like her. I think that she is, if not she's one of the most iconic background characters. She was the closest number to Gihan, and then she was the first person to vote O, and she lived until the glass bridge. And then how after 62 did the boss move where he just tried to speed run it. Her and the guy in front of her were like discussing which panel he went on next because they couldn't remember, and so he chose the wrong one, and then she just went, oh, I guess it wasn't that one, and that one was a little funny. Yeah, I think that she's very iconic, and I like her. Alright, next up is Math Guy, aka Player 62, aka the badass that did the cool thing in Glass Bridge where he tried to speedrun it. When I did this, I was infected with nostalgia because I put him in love. The reason why I say it was nostalgia was because this fucking show has haunted my adolescence. I was 13 when it came out, and across those 4 years, I had nothing to think about other than what I already had. So then I got like blindsided with these stupid background characters. Like, there are more that I could talk about, but I don't want to do it in this tier list because I think it would be unfair to put the guy who killed himself because his wife died next to Ali. Yeah, I feel like it would be unfair, and then I would be putting him above Ji-young like I did with this guy. I put him above Ji-young, so sorry, girl. I was 13 when this show came out, and I'm 17, and it still has been my favorite show, and I don't really know why. I'm not gonna touch on that because it's a whole nother bag of worms. But when somebody needs to give me a birthday present, they would give me something Squid Game related. I think that says a lot about me, and maybe that's a bit embarrassing. I love the show, and I love him, but I'm gonna put him in like because when I say love, it doesn't have as much weight as when I say I love Jun-hee. Okay, so he's a math teacher. That's it, that's all we know. Other than that, you know, he was cool because he did the speedrun thing, and I guess that was enough substance for me to love him a lot, so. Alright, last but not least is Mina, and she had 3 seconds of screen time in a dream, and she fulfilled it. She was cheeky, you know, and she was like unserious with the way that she was complaining about the color of the jacket, and she was a good setup for a character, but it was like, I feel like you could tell that she was gonna die first, or I think they put that in the trailer actually, but nonetheless, the way that she died first and made everybody else start panicking was good, you know, silver platter, you know, and I like her. Alright, so this is round 2 post talking about the characters, so then my opinions are refreshed. So first off, I D-tiered Noel because I just didn't feel as much of a connection to her, but I still think that she's a great character. And then I D-tiered 62 because he's obviously not on the same level as Noel. And I D-tiered Seonyo because I don't love her as much as I do Minyo. Then I up-tiered Daiho because he's relatable and funny. And then I up-tiered Jungbae because he's funny and a very important character, and I think that he adds a lot. Then I up-tiered Junho because, you know, I love him. Then I also up-tiered the salesman because, you know, he's funny. Then I up-tiered Thanos because he's funny and I loved seeing him on the screen. Then I up-tiered Namgyu because after talking about him I realized that he's not as much of a one-toned character as I thought. And then I down-tiered the captain because, you know, he is a bit of a bad guy. And then I up-tiered Myung-hee because after talking about him I realized that he's not that bad, he was just too late. And then I up-tiered Ji-young because after talking about her I realized that I do like her than I thought I did. Alright, that's the end. Psych! No, you thought I forgot my boy Gihan. Nah, you're crazy. Nah, I saved the best for last. The end.